And the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. The cross as an instrument of torture is not and cannot be loved. Those are the opening words of what is almost undoubtedly one of the finest books of the theology of the cross of the 20th century. Indeed, perhaps of any century since the Reformation by Jürgen Moltmann, Moltmann. The Crucified God. The cross as an instrument of torture is not and cannot be loved. Yet only the crucified Christ can bring the freedom which changes the world, because it is no longer afraid of death. In his time, the crucified Christ was regarded as a scandal and utter foolishness. Today also, if you regard Christ as the center of your faith, or our culture, or our worldview, or indeed, alas, in some parts of the church even, as the center of your theology, then you are considered old-fashioned. It is only when we are reminded of him who is the crucified second person of the divine Trinity, however untimely this reminder may be, that we can be set free from the power of the facts of the present time and from the laws and compulsions of history, and be offered a future which will never grow dark. And thus Christ, the divine Logos, is hidden from the eyes of the world, yet pressingly present on this Good Friday evening, even as he dies upon the cross. For just as this coronation is upside down, so is the reign of God upside down and back to front from what the world expects. The king does not rule as a despot. This king does not use death as a weapon, but rather endures death as a weapon and destroys death's power. This king shatters everything that we understand about kings, hierarchy, power, and authority. And thus, this coronation is a fitting announcement of the inauguration of the reign of God, of the salvation, the renewal, and the recreation of the cosmos. Indeed, we are called to be recreators with Christ in his resurrection. In his death and suffering, we participate in baptism and are also raised to new life with the washing away of sin. And just as he rises from Hades, bringing with him Adam and Eve and all who have ever lived, from all times and in all places, bringing them to new life in God's glory, so we too are called to participate in that. We were talking in our catechumen class just a few weeks ago about how on Good Friday, it's almost as if Christ, according to medieval imagery, dances with that skeleton of death, that great scythe and sickle wielding dark figure who holds on to him for the 3 days. And then eventually, because Christ is none other than God himself, death must let go. And Christ comes back to our world proclaiming a new creation. And in the garden calls, as Adam did on that first morning with God, apples. Apples was the name. Lions was the name. Kangaroos was the name. As the words were uttered, so they came into being. Let there be light, and light was there. So Christ calls Mary, and she is recreated, and in St. John's Gospel it's wonderfully evocative. She spins and spins about as she turns to face him and recognize him. So we too are called by our names to recognize, to embrace, to know the Christ who has conquered death upon the cross. We adore thee, O Christ, and we praise thee, for by thy holy cross and passion thou hast redeemed the world. Amen.